After waking up from the car accident, I remembered everyone, but I couldn't remember Ethan. My best friend said I was madly in love with him and even proposed to him. Hearing this, I couldn't believe it. Who would have a girl propose to them? But my phone wallpaper and photo album were filled with his pictures. But I had been discharged from the hospital after the car accident. Why couldn't I find him? After waking up, I realized I had amnesia and was now married, already 30 years old. The last thing I remembered was graduating from university when I was 23, having lost 7 years of my memory and feeling very depressed. My best friend Olivia rolled her eyes. You loved Ethan so much, but he was out having fun with his first love and didn't have time for you. You went through 7 years of emotional turmoil, and the person you've always loved is out of reach. Sometimes you drive out in the middle of the night to drink, and then you got into a car accident. That's my current situation. I understand, but I still don't get it. Who would want to settle for less? When I saw the wallpaper on my phone, I understood. No wonder I loved him so much. That face is indeed very attractive. But I'm not the kind of person who lets others walk all over me. Why should I put up with someone like him? Is he rich? Is he generous? Olivia raised her eyebrows and asked, "What do you want? Divorce and property division? Are you kidding?" At 30, Sophia gave up her dignity for love and begged a man to marry her. But a 23-year-old Sophia wouldn't do that. She'd definitely leave him and find someone more suitable. Olivia was worried I'd regret it, so she immediately prepared a divorce agreement for me and helped me demand a large sum of money. When I finally found Ethan's WeChat, I realized our relationship was really bad. The chat history was filled with me constantly asking him when he was coming back or apologizing to him in a cautious manner, making me feel a bit embarrassed. At the same time, I found several photos of Ethan out with his first love, his white moonlight. These were all evidence of his infidelity during our marriage. If necessary, I would also have to recover the joint property we had spent together. Olivia snapped her fingers and said, "It's better that you lost your memory. These past few years, I almost thought you had been replaced." I smiled and sent the divorce agreement over. Soon, the other party replied, "Sophia, what's this new trick? Are you trying to get my attention? Did you forget about the car accident and now you're not pretending anymore?" I sighed and said, "If there's no problem, just sign it. Let's part ways amicably. I'll give you 3 days to think it over. After that, I'll file the lawsuit." After saying that, the other party quickly replied with 3 words. "How interesting." I sneered. At 23, Sophia was fearless and didn't care about that man at all. But I never expected that when Olivia drove me home, seeing all the traces of life inside the house, my mind went blank. She had to leave first, and I was alone in that huge villa, finally understanding why, 7 years later, I was living such a miserable life. The difference between love and not loving someone is truly vast. At home, I couldn't find a single photo of the two of us together, but when I searched for Ethan's name on Weibo, it was filled with photos of him with other women. Netizens' obsession with this couple had reached an extreme level. When I entered the bedroom, I was surprised to find someone else inside. The man looked at me with a disdainful expression, as if he were playing some kind of trick. "Sophia, how do you still remember this place?" I realized it was Ethan. I tilted my head, trying to remember that this wasn't property we owned together as a couple. "I've lost my memory, not that my mind is playing tricks on me. I can figure it out with a little effort." He snorted coldly, then turned around and started changing clothes. That's when I noticed he'd just taken a shower. He's in pretty good shape. That's all. Ethan saw I wasn't reacting and furrowed his brows, asking if I wasn't going to move out of the way. "My memory is fuzzy. I'm sorry. I was just admiring you. After all, I had forgotten. You just looked so relaxed." After he finished speaking, his expression turned ugly, and he threw the towel down as if venting his frustration. I just raised my eyebrows and didn't say anything else. This attitude made him very angry, and he quickly got dressed and rushed out. I called out to him and said I was serious about divorce. At the bar, Olivia was laughing happily. "Did you really say that to him?" I shrugged. What else could I think? He doesn't have 8-pack abs, doesn't work out, and just looks decent. What else could I say? Olivia gave me a thumbs up. "That's impressive. Sophia, I still like you better now. You're so brave. Let's drink to that." The glasses were quickly refilled, and I started to feel a bit tipsy. The magic show began at the bar, with several male models dancing on stage. We were sitting up front, and the atmosphere was lively. I couldn't help but scream. Soon, 2 young men surrounded me. Olivia clapped for me from the side and said happily, "Sophia, you're amazing. You used to refuse to come out with me, but now you're really letting loose. I spent 7 years thinking about the past, and it was all a waste. Just as I was enjoying myself, I suddenly felt a piercing gaze. I looked up and met a pair of black eyes. My heart skipped a beat. Could it be Ethan? How did he end up here? He was accompanied by a woman wearing a white dress with long, black hair, looking gentle and elegant, but out of place in this environment. Ethan walked over, clenching his teeth, and asked sternly, "Is this what you call amnesia?" "Sophia, you're amazing," the woman beside him said. "Ethan, Sophia might just be nervous. Come relax a bit." What pressure? Why would she need another man to comfort her? I was slightly drunk, glanced at them, and couldn't help but mock. Who made my other half look so mature? Seeing that face every day is stressful. At 30, you don't even date. I want to try something new with younger men. And you, I pointed at the woman and said, "Stop pretending to be a virtuous housewife here. You're so old, trying to act like a young woman. Look at your face. It's all saggy. Save some money and get a facelift. You're middle-aged. Why are you still playing love games like young people?" I said it with disdain, and their faces turned pale. Olivia laughed beside me and said, "Sophia, you're my goddess." Sophia replied, "Of course, I always have been." Ethan got angry, suddenly grabbed my arm, and said, "Let's go home." I asked, "Go home for what?" I wanted to keep playing. "We're not getting divorced. We just need to talk." What a disappointment. Ethan dragged me away, and Emily followed. A black luxury car was parked at the entrance. Ethan opened the passenger door and pushed me inside. Emily said with a hint of resentment, "Ethan, I'll take a taxi home first. I'll find you later." I leaned against the car window and smiled. "Ethan, don't go. I'll come with you. It's so late. What if we encounter bad people? Give her a ride." Hearing this, Ethan looked at me with a complicated expression, about to say something, but I leaned back in the seat and closed my eyes. Age really does make a difference. Though I still feel like I'm in my 20s, this 30-year-old body can't handle it anymore. I don't know how long it took, but I felt light, like I was floating in the air. When I opened my eyes, Ethan was holding me. It was my familiar bedroom. I must have come back. Seeing his cold gaze, I snapped back to reality, broke free, and jumped down. "All right, since we're talking, what's your issue with the divorce agreement? Say it now." I leaned unsteadily against the bed, dazed as I looked at him. Ethan spoke slowly. "Sophia, how much longer do you plan to keep up this act of amnesia?" I was a bit confused and took a while to process. "Are you accusing me of faking amnesia? What's in it for you? Or do you find it hard to accept that I'm no longer clinging to you? Men are so hard to figure out. Ethan, I chased after you for so long, but you didn't care. Now that I've stopped, do you feel uncomfortable?" He clenched his fist, and I waved my hand. "If there are no other issues, just sign the papers. Otherwise, I'll sue you. When that happens, Emily will be the one who ruined the marriage, and I'll make sure she suffers greatly. This has nothing to do with her. I've told you many times, I didn't cheat on you." "Sophia, what's going on with you? You were chasing after me every day, begging me to marry you, and now that you've gotten what you wanted, you want to leave. How can you justify that?" Hearing these words, I felt a surge of anger and immediately grabbed the ashtray from the bedside table, smashing it against his head. Suddenly, blood gushed from his head, and Ethan was knocked to the ground, staring at me in shock. I shouted angrily, "Do you think I like you because I tied you up and forced you to marry me? Ethan, what's wrong with your family? Can you force someone to marry you if you don't like them? You said you didn't cheat on me. After I was hospitalized for 7 days, I saw you out with Emily. Isn't that cheating? Finally, I'm really fed up. Do you know why I forgot about you? Because you really make me feel uncomfortable." After saying that, I grabbed his arm and dragged him out of the room. "There are only 2 days left. If you don't sign, I'll go after her." Then the door slammed shut. I slammed the door shut, lay on the bed, and though the alcohol had worn off, I couldn't sleep. There was something poking me under the pillow. I flipped it open and found my travel journal. I always felt electronic devices weren't reliable. Handwritten things were more meaningful. Flipping through the book, it was filled with memories of Ethan. Every little detail from the past 7 years was here. June 28, 2018, I first met Ethan, and he was so handsome I couldn't take my eyes off him. I was wearing my graduation gown and walked straight up to him to take a photo together. He blushed so much he turned red. Added him on WeChat. 201873. Dined with Ethan. We had tried to meet 3 times before, but today we finally managed to have lunch together. On August 15, 2018, the girl he liked went abroad, and Ethan was heartbroken. I comforted him with drinks and even kissed him secretly. On October 1, 2018, we went on a trip together, camped under the stars, and he truly understood how I felt. On December 31st, 2018, on New Year's Eve, I hid a ring in the cake, tricked him into eating it, and successfully proposed. In June 2024, Emily returned, but Ethan forgot my birthday. Ethan found a job for Emily and arranged for her to work near him, but we argued over it, and he didn't come back. 23-year-old Sophia has been using a thick notebook to record her feelings, but last month she felt she couldn't take it anymore and even considered suicide. I feel so heartbroken. Sophia, you shouldn't give up on yourself like this. I took screenshots of the diary entries and some photos and sent them to Olivia. Thanks to my good habit of keeping record, there's plenty of evidence of Ethan's infidelity here. They're just one step away. Ethan believes that as long as there's no physical intimacy, it doesn't count as cheating. But I think that from the moment he betrayed me in his heart, he was already wrong. Ethan, whether or not I've forgotten the past, I'm certain about the present. I don't want you anymore. 3 days later, Ethan still hadn't signed the papers. I hired Olivia as my lawyer to file for divorce. When Ethan came to see me with a bandage on his face, Emily was by his side. Sophia, there's nothing between me and Ethan. If I'm the reason you two are separating, I truly feel sorry. I crossed my arms and said calmly, then just apologize. What? You said you felt guilty. Should you apologize then? Admit that you caused the problems in our marriage. Emily blushed and couldn't speak for a moment. I glanced at Ethan and felt uneasy, thinking he was pretending to be innocent. Ethan, do you still want to keep making me angry? Sophia, I won't divorce you. You won't divorce me? I don't understand. Why? After 6 months of Cold War, he didn't come home 68 times at night, stood me up 73 times, canceled my plans 8 times, and insulted me many times. You hate me so much. Why don't you just divorce me? Do you want to torture each other? Ethan, you really disappoint me. Every time I spoke, Ethan's expression grew uglier. I poured the remaining red wine on his face and shouted, "Don't come near me. I've issued my final warning. This time, I'm definitely getting a divorce. If you refuse, I'll expose you online." Do you think I'm bluffing? Ethan remained silent, while Emily was visibly shaken. Sophia, stop talking. We're not officially divorced yet, so this house is mine. If you dare to come in and nag again, I'll really lose my temper. You're just a mistress. I don't think anyone will blame me. After all, I'm just a neglected wife. My words were too much for her to handle. Emily's eyes welled up with tears as she looked at Ethan, hoping he would say something to defend her. Ethan didn't say a word. He just took a deep breath. All right. He trembled as he took the divorce agreement from me, signed it, and then looked at me one last time. There's a 1-month cooling off period. I'll go back home. No way. This house is already included in the compensation. This is my place. Pack your things and leave. Ethan looked at me, couldn't help but smile, then looked dejected as he walked upstairs. Emily wanted to follow, but I stopped her. I raised my eyebrows, waved my hand, and prepared to leave. Otherwise, I might get angry. She was startled and reluctantly took 2 steps back. After Ethan had completely gone downstairs, Emily couldn't hold back anymore. Ethan married you because you forced him. I just went out to work, and you took advantage of the situation to do this. Is that right? You went abroad to get married, and Ethan has to keep his word for you? I stepped closer. Emily, don't be so self-righteous. I cared too much about you before. That's why I caused trouble with Ethan and wasted my energy. But what are you, exactly? You're so busy chasing after small gains. Is it really worth me getting angry over? I'll let you have him. Let's see how long it takes you to win him over. After all, I only took half a year to marry him. Emily's face turned pale. She hadn't expected me to speak to her like this. Just as she was about to retort, Ethan came downstairs. He was carrying his luggage, looking a bit sad and helpless. I waved him away, signaling him to leave quickly. As soon as he stepped out the door, I shut it immediately. After that, I called a few cleaners to thoroughly clean the house inside and out. I disposed of all memories and traces related to Ethan. The housekeeper came to ask if this was necessary. It was a stack of photos, our wedding photos. In the photos, we were smiling so happily, and we could see each other's reflections in each other's eyes. I'm sure we were truly in love back then, but now, everything has changed. I smiled and said it could be burned. She paused for a moment, then nodded in agreement. She lit a fire in the yard and burned all the photos and those gifts filled with memories. The wedding ring Ethan gave me was also sold on a second-hand website. When the money arrived, I felt incredibly relieved and even recorded a video to upload to my social media. Olivia was the first to like it. Sophia, you're so amazing. Sophia, It seems you've finally gained confidence. I knew you couldn't stay so low-key forever. This is the goddess I remember. Congratulations on finding your other half tonight. Let's go out and celebrate. I agreed without hesitation. After cleaning the villa spotless, I bought a lot of new clothes and put them inside, in a variety of styles. I realized that before, I had always bought clothes to please Ethan, simple solid-colored long dresses or demure, girly outfits. I really didn't like that style. Now I wore long t-shirts and shorts, did my makeup carefully, and dyed and curled my hair, looking much younger. When we arrived at the private room, as soon as we walked in, confetti started falling, and it all landed on me. It was truly a scene celebrating a new beginning. Olivia even brought me a pure gold crown. Sophia, you really deserve this. Come over here. Let's take a photo together. The camera focused on my smiling face. What happened after that? I can't remember at all. When I woke up the next morning in the villa's large bed, I was a bit dazed. I shook my head and suddenly remembered some things. Sitting on the bed, it took me half an hour to sort out my thoughts, and eventually all my memories returned. I never thought that after the divorce, I would remember these things again. It seems that love really can make one lose their mind. When I finally let go of everything came back. I checked my phone and saw that Olivia had sent me a message. She had driven me home last night and asked me to let her know once I woke up. Sophia, Ethan gave Emily 2 diamonds and some designer handbags. You need to list all the details. That girl was really over the top. She even called you last night. I couldn't help but scold her. Now I understand. Emily can't wait any longer. I'll make sure she tells you everything. After composing myself, the doorbell rang. The moment I saw Ethan, I couldn't help but furrow my brows, thinking, what does this mean? We haven't divorced yet, and there's at least another month left. I have the right to stay here. If you want to stop me, at least wait until the villa is transferred. He walked in directly, and I didn't know what to say. Never mind, do as you please. I quietly went to the kitchen, feeling a pair of eyes staring at me, but I ignored them. The water came to a boil, and I started cooking the noodles. Suddenly, Ethan ran over, grabbed my wrist, and said excitedly, Sophia, you haven't forgotten, have you? Not even a little? I saw him frown and suddenly remembered that every time I cooked noodles, I always liked to crumble the noodle dough. It was this little habit that made him think I hadn't lost my memory. Actually, I had lost my memory, but I remembered everything last night. The joy of divorce stimulated my brain, allowing me to recall my previous life. Ethan moved his lips slightly and said, can we not get divorced? I answered seriously, I'm serious too, Ethan. Since we've decided to end it, let's let go completely. Why can you start whenever you want and end whenever you want? Sophia, you always interfere in my life without caring about anything. Once you're done playing, you just want to push me out. He got angry and started complaining loudly. I pushed him away calmly. Weren't you the one who pushed me first? I took out my phone and showed him the screenshot from the hand-drawn notebook. Look, it was my birthday that day. You told me you had to work overtime, but you actually went to the airport to pick up Emily, arranged a hotel for her, and even stayed with her. We weren't in the same room, yet you chose to stay with her, not even willing to spend my birthday with me. Your heart wasn't with me anymore, and the birthday gift you gave me the next day was exactly the same as the one you gave Emily. Do you think I wouldn't get angry, or that I wouldn't notice? Ethan, whether I have amnesia or not, the fact of our divorce cannot be changed. It's all because of your cruelty that I feel so desperate. It was precisely because you caused me to lose all my memories in a car accident while I was drunk that I had the courage to say goodbye to the past and separate from you forever. His words made him feel very depressed. His face turned pale. He forced a smile, then turned and left. My good mood vanished instantly. I turned off the stove, took out my phone, and ordered takeout again. Eating takeout and watching TV at home was actually quite relaxing, as long as there was no one else around. Ethan seemed to want to win me back, lingering around me every day. When I drank, he would bring me snacks. When I read, he would sit beside me with his notebook. In short, no matter what I did, he followed. This felt strangely familiar. I had once pursued him in the same way. Knowing he loved art exhibitions, I studied the works of all modern painters and researched his favorite artists. Knowing he loved theater, I stayed up late to buy tickets. Everyone around me said that if I had put the same effort into my career as I did into chasing Ethan, I would be a business tycoon by now. In the end, I successfully won Ethan over and married him, so now Ethan thinks he can succeed too. I truly loved him back then and was willing to put in a lot of effort for him. The chance encounters she thought were coincidences were actually the result of me waiting for hours. Now he's always hanging around me, and it's really annoying. I've had enough. I quickly asked Olivia to help me sue Emily. Sure enough, less than 2 weeks later, Emily couldn't take it anymore. That night, I made a spicy fish dish. Just as I was about to eat, Ethan's phone rang. The ringtone was pretty loud, but I was used to it, so I just stared at him. Ethan hung up, but the caller kept calling. I had no choice but to answer it. Emily's voice was trembling with tears. She said, "Ethan, why are they suing me? Why do they want me to return the shared property? These things were all gifts from you." Ethan glanced at me and immediately understood the situation. Why? Of course, because this property belongs to me and Sophia. Since she wants it back, just give it to her. Hearing this, the other person broke down completely. "Ethan, you're really unbelievable." Ethan hung up without hesitation. After hanging up, he looked at me with sparkling eyes, as if waiting for me to praise him. I couldn't help but laugh. "Ethan, that was really reckless." He froze. "Did I say something wrong? If you had told her from the beginning that I'm Ethan's wife and not given her any chance, how would she end up facing this lawsuit today? When you loved her, you were willing to give up everything related to me to be with her. When she said she wanted to see the Northern Lights, you took time off work to take her. When she wanted to eat the dumplings from the south of the city, you got up early to buy them for her. Now that you don't like her anymore, you want to take back all the gifts you gave her. You're both cold-hearted and irresponsible. Ethan, divorcing you is the best decision I've ever made in my life." Hearing this, Ethan's expression changed, and he began to lose his composure. After half a month of persistence, when I said this, he became emotional again. "Are you really going to treat me like this? I did all this for whom? If you want to marry me, then don't say another word." I angrily threw the fruit on the table at him. "Don't insult my feelings. I truly loved you when I pursued you. At the time, I thought Ethan was a great person, with a sunny disposition and a bright future. More importantly, he truly loved his white moonlight and respected her deeply. Look, she found a boyfriend abroad, but he didn't go bother her. Instead, he quietly returned here, suffering in silence. At that moment, I realized that no matter how painful it was, he didn't want to be the third wheel in a love triangle. I admired him for being a true man, and that's why I wanted to be with him. I pursued you because I thought you were responsible, and we did have a happy time after marriage. Later, she came back, and you changed. Do you think you can help her realize that her choice was wrong? You want to tell her that after all the turmoil, you finally realized I'm the one who's right for you, right?" My words left him speechless. I smiled, walked up to him, and gently patted his face. "Ethan, it's better to part ways. There's no need to drag this out and make things uncomfortable. I'm giving you back everything I said before." In the past, to try to win Ethan back, I argued with him and even waited for him downstairs at the hotel with a big bouquet of roses, hoping he'd come down to see me. Ethan said, "Don't do these things anymore. It's really disgusting." Now I'm just giving him back everything he owns, and he can't handle it. Seeing Ethan in such a broken state, I feel that life is truly unpredictable. I've experienced major ups and downs and am no longer afraid to start over, but Ethan can't do it so easily. He can't accept this change, and I don't want to keep entangled like this anymore. This situation is too painful and humiliating. He fell silent, so I went upstairs and locked the door from the inside. After that, he stayed quiet for a while. However, a week later, Ethan came knocking on my door again, this time holding the hand-drawn ledger. "I'm sorry, Sophia. I didn't realize how much you were suffering back then. Now I finally understand that you truly love me." When he said those words, I almost couldn't help but lash out again. Ethan doesn't believe I love him. He thinks I pursued him and married him out of a fleeting impulse. It's true that I'm known among my friends as someone who loves to have fun and live life to the fullest. But once I commit to someone, I never give up easily. Before being with Ethan, I had a brief romance, but it didn't work out. Later, after getting to know each other better, we started talking about our first loves. At that time, Ethan wrapped his arm around my shoulder and said, "We're both people with similar experiences. If one day we really have no other options, let's be together." He was drunk at the time, but I was still sober. I remember that statement made me act immediately. Now, hearing Ethan say that, I picked up the sketchbook and glanced at it before tossing it into the trash. Ethan's expression immediately turned grim. "Let's leave the past in the past. We need to look forward." "Ethan, I've never hidden my love for you. What were you thinking when you agreed to marry me? Did you just want to get by? Or did you think you'd be happier with Sophia?" "I think I'd be happy with her, but you don't seem to think so." "So, I've decided not to look back. Ethan looked dejected. He nodded and left. Half a month later, we successfully obtained the divorce certificate. Before leaving, Ethan looked at me and asked if he could hug me. I refused outright and turned to get into Olivia's car. The moment I received the compensation, I immediately bought a car. When Olivia saw my new car, she screamed with excitement. It was amazing. Don't forget your friends even when you're rich. I patted her shoulder and told her there's enough for both of us. Don't worry. I'll take her with me wherever I go. She was overjoyed. Now, driving this luxury car, when she saw Ethan approaching, Olivia stepped on the gas and sped off. I shouted out loud, finally realizing how wonderful it felt to be free and start anew. I had been torn inside, unwilling to let go of myself for him, and in the end, both of us suffered greatly in this relationship. The constant arguments left me exhausted, and now I realize that letting go of the past is also a form of liberation. I took a deep breath. This is the taste of freedom and the feeling of love. Olivia didn't say much. She just took me to the airport. Since I'd decided to leave, I had to look forward and not back. I'd used this opportunity to take an impulsive trip. Remember, Sophia, love yourself first, then love others. No matter what, I wouldn't let him take advantage of me again. She quickly packed my things and sent me off on the flight abroad. I saw the majestic snow-capped mountains, felt the vastness of the grasslands, and the towering peaks. At that moment, my heart felt unusually calm. I realized I had so many options. I didn't have to be bound by emotions. Life could be so free and unrestrained. After the divorce, I also received a decent settlement, enough to ensure I wouldn't have to worry about money in the future. But I've never been one to sit still. And now that I have money, I certainly won't stop. Plus, the 2 million yuan in joint property has already been transferred to my account. When Olivia mentioned this to me, she was smiling, thinking Ethan would help her handle it. But she didn't get any response. When the lawsuit began, I sent all the documents to her workplace. She couldn't refuse to pay. She's still haggling on second-hand platforms and in stores, hoping someone will take those bags and diamonds. You know, if she'd known it would end like this, why bother in the first place? She wasn't very popular abroad, and after returning home, she got involved in a love triangle. Now she's lost both the money and the person. I took a deep breath. After all, she was the most important person in Ethan's heart. Ethan was truly deeply in love with her. Sigh. Men's thoughts are often influenced by sex and hormones. Can you really trust them? Someone like Ethan will always be obsessed with his ex. Look, after breaking up, he always reminisces about his ex-girlfriend's good qualities. Now that he's divorced from you, he's started missing your good qualities again. That's why he's come back to you, isn't it? I couldn't take it anymore and scolded him, telling him to leave. To be honest, after the divorce, Ethan became even more clingy, sending me messages and flowers every few days. Even when I was abroad traveling, he kept harassing me, so I blocked him. But he actually changed his number and kept contacting me. It wasn't until I told him that if he harassed me again, I'd call the police that he finally quieted down for a while. However, I didn't expect him to give up. After 3 months abroad, when I was finally ready to return, I ran into Ethan at the airport. He was dressed in a suit, looking neat, but his eyes were red and puffy, as if he'd been through a rough time recently. I instinctively took a step back. Ethan saw this and wore a pained expression, saying, "Sophia, can't we even be friends? I just want to have dinner with you." I raised my eyebrows and said, "All right, let's have dinner together. I'm not a petty person, it's just a meal. Nothing to make a big deal out of." I wanted to be honest with him and tell him that there was no future between us. This was the perfect opportunity to clarify things. I had no intention of reconciling with my ex-husband. At the restaurant, Ethan ordered a large spread of dishes, enthusiastically picked out fish bones and peeled shrimp for me, and even warmed up my juice. Seeing him so busy, I couldn't help but laugh. I took a sip of juice, ate the shrimp, and finally finished all the fish he had picked out for me. Ethan's eyes lit up, and I nodded and put down my chopsticks. He immediately became nervous and asked if I didn't like it. Actually, it wasn't that. The food was fine, but the person was a bit of a problem. I looked at him and explained slowly, "Have you noticed that every time we eat together, you always order the same few dishes? It's not because I like them, but because these are your favorites. Actually, to be precise, these are Emily's favorites. You and Emily always post photos of your dates on Weibo, and it's always the same dishes, so I assumed you liked them too. Later, I realized these were Emily's favorites, and you just ordered them to accommodate her taste. To go along with you, I always ordered the same things too. Actually, I hate eating fish the most, and I have no interest in hot juice either. I like drinking Coke, and the foods I want to eat are barbecue, spicy hot pot, and those dishes with strong flavors. See, from the very beginning, you never really paid attention to me, and now all these things you're doing mean nothing to me. Ethan, if you just pay a little more attention to my WeChat moments and see what I eat when I'm with Olivia, you'd understand. Ethan trembled his lips, suddenly raised his hand, and slapped himself, saying, I'm sorry, Sophia. Can we start over? I'll make anything you want. I held his hand, and he grew anxious, hurriedly saying, No, I can do it. There's no need to argue anymore, Ethan. Calm down. It's all in the past, isn't it? We've already broken up. Let's not see each other anymore. I took a deep breath, feeling helpless. When we first got married, Ethan would cook for me. Though he only knew a few dishes, I would eat them all to keep him motivated. Even the best dishes get boring after a while, let alone ones I don't like. I thought I'd be happy forever, so don't dwell on the past. Life is long. We need to look forward. Goodbye. Thank you for your hospitality. After saying that, I stood up and left, walking a long way before turning back to see Ethan sitting at the table with his face in his hands, his shoulders trembling. I didn't know what he was doing. When I loved him, I always hovered around him, and he found me annoying. Now that I don't love him anymore and want to leave, he can't bear to let me go. Human hearts are never satisfied. They always want more. Ethan hesitated, and in the end, neither of us got what we wanted. On the way home, I received a message from an unknown number. It was Sophia. I'm sorry. I didn't hesitate and blocked her immediately. For someone who had lived with him for 7 years, even a dog's temperament could be understood, let alone mine. Ethan had never truly cared about me. Never mind. Let's not talk about this anymore. We once had some beautiful memories, but now that I think about it, all that beauty was just me accommodating him. I've been making concessions all along. When I no longer wanted to compromise and wanted to be myself, the balance between us was broken. In the future, I won't humiliate myself like that anymore. I want to be my authentic self, like a blooming flower, freely embracing the sunlight and showcasing my beauty.